we all have to remind ourselves of the most prestigious, one of the most memorable, prestigious khutbah, sermon that was delivered by the last Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It needs to be printed out, it needs to be placed in the walls of our houses. We need to share it with the world, because the farewell sermon of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the first regional declaration of human rights in human history. It is the most universal, it is the clearest declaration of human rights. Not many Muslims know this, because of course we read the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by United Nations. Maybe some of you have read Magna Carta. Maybe some of us have read the Declaration of the Rights of Man during the French Revolution, being the father copy for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by United Nations in 1948. Sorry, in 1952, if I'm not mistaken, the declaration was made. But how many of us actually realized that the farewell sermon of the Prophet ﷺ far surpassed the quality of the declarations that I've mentioned just now? I say this not because I'm a Muslim. I say this because it is grounded on evidence. And we can actually prove our point. We can show to the world that, without a shred of a doubt, that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the first person in human history documented. I'm not saying that the prophets before did not make the declaration. I believe they said something like that. But documented, witnessed by 100,000 of his companions, with narrators narrating this hadith or this khutbah or this sermon being passed down from one generation to the next generation. This is mutawatir, right? It is passed down through the mutawatir chain. Why do I want to speak about this? Why is this issue so important? Because I believe United Nations have failed. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that document, have not served its purpose. Ia telah gagal. It's not that I'm against human rights. It is not that we are against many things written in that declaration. We agree in many parts of it. But what we are trying to say is, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is not grounded in solid legal, philosophical, moral, ethical, theological grounding. It has nothing to stand on. That is why you see today the states who are voting for this and for that in the United Nations, their vote can easily be cancelled by the 5 main states, right? The veto states being the US, China, Russia, France, and United Kingdom. And we see how United States voted against the ceasefire. And this is not a new thing. This has happened throughout the establishment of the United Nations. And there are many scholars who actually have said that the United Nations, or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, was actually formed not to prevent the occurrence of atrocities such as what happened during the First World War or the Second World War, because this is their stated claim. They say we need the United Nations, we need to establish the United Nations so that the atrocities that happened during the First and the Second World War will not repeat. So they claim that the very purpose of the establishment of the United Nations is for the purpose of peace. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. When it is told to them, do not create corruption on earth, what do they say? They say, we are peace lovers, we are peacemakers, we are reformers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, indeed, they are the corruptors, but they do not realize it. Now, since the inception of the United Nations, there are many unjust wars that actually took place. Banyak peperangan-peperangan yang tidak adil, yang zalim berlaku dengan voting, dengan persetujuan negara-negara yang pada asalnya bersetuju untuk menegakkan keamanan dan keadilan. So we can safely say that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is used as a political tool. Dia dipergunakan sebagai satu alat politik to legitimize invasion, to legitimize occupation, untuk menghalalkan penjajahan, untuk menghalalkan pembunuhan. Look at the track record of these 5 states. Look at the track record of America. Look at the track record of Russia, of China, of France. France until today, baru je. Bila, when we hear about Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, now we realize that France have never stopped their colonialism. Right? Dia belum berhenti menjajah lagi. So these countries who have committed the most atrocities during the Second World War and even before that, they are the ones who are given veto power. And these are the very countries who keep talking about democracy. Right? We need democracy. We need democracy. But there is no democracy in the United Nations. They can just veto. Tak ikut majority pun. There is no sovereignty of the majority. Even the spilling of innocent blood, they don't care. Let's accept this fact. The United Nations have failed. That the Universal Declaration of Human Rights means nothing. It needs a different framework. It needs a different theological foundation. It needs a different philosophical, legal foundation to make it functional. And I believe that that foundation has already been laid by our beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.